In 2006, in the small town of Lugoff, South Carolina, a man claiming to be a police officer approached 14-year-old Elizabeth Shoaf after getting off the school bus, just 200 yards from her house. He handcuffed her, walked her around in the woods until she became disoriented, and then marched her to a hand-dug 8x8 underground bunker, located within a mile of her own home. After 10 days, she outsmarted him and escaped her death. In this video, you will get to know the true story of this 14-year-old girl who was smarter than her grown-up kidnapper. Let's get into it. This is Morbid Network. Videos about crime in every dark corner of the universe. Subscribe to our channel to prepare for the worst. Elizabeth was just living a normal 14-year-old life. She was coming back from school. She got off the bus and was on her way home when she was kidnapped. Her friends who were on the same bus that day said that there was nothing unusual going on. So when did people notice that Elizabeth was missing? Her mother told the police that when Elizabeth did not call her after coming back home, she was worried because that was very unusual. So a search operation was started out in town for the next couple of days, but there were no signs of Elizabeth. Vinson Filyaw, a construction worker at the time, was the horrific person who abducted this little girl. He plotted a plan and wore a uniform that made him look like a police officer. When Elizabeth was walking towards her home, when he approached her and said that her younger brother was in custody and is going to arrest her too because he has found drugs in the house. Elizabeth worries immediately about her brother's safety and agrees to walk with him. Although she later revealed that she had the gut feeling that what was happening wasn't right.
So I agreed to approach him. I had a gut feeling that I had made a bad decision.
There was something off about him in the situation. But as a young girl, you should be able to trust the authorities, right? Vinson took the girl into the woods and disoriented her by walking around. About a half-mile from her house in the dense forest, he proceeded to uncover a door that led to an underground bunker. The bunker contained a homemade toilet, a propane tank for cooking, a small battery-operated TV the man used to stay updated on the search for Elizabeth, and a bed where he would physically assault her 2 to 5 times daily. A long chain went around her neck, with explosives, according to Vinson, to prevent her from escaping. During the first few days of the search for her, Elizabeth could hear a helicopter and even the footsteps of volunteers walking around above the bunker. One of the first questions this sinister man asked the innocent girl was, "Are you a virgin?" This question was morbidly more than enough to reveal his true intentions and shows what kind of sick mind Vinson was. The kidnapper allegedly made her strip naked and held her as his captive. Elizabeth was super scared she may never be found, but nonetheless she outsmarted him eventually by using reverse psychology. She acted as if she fell in love with him. He lowered his guard, opened up to her, removed the chain from her neck, and even allowed her to step outside for a few minutes with him. Vinson, on the other hand, states later in an interview that Elizabeth was part of the whole plan and was enjoying spending time with him. The more proof this man was sick.
I mean, it was like she was on TV every time, and it was exciting. It was like a vacation for her. I mean, we were having a good time. I mean, no more school for her, you know, it was just hanging out.
Are you saying that she was a willing participant the whole time?
Yeah.
After 7 days, Elizabeth gained enough trust to let her borrow his cell phone to play games, but she had an entirely different use in mind. When he fell asleep, she used the phone to text her mother. Since she was underground in a dense forest, she was notified her messages were not delivered. There was one text that did go through. We will zoom in on this a bit later in this video. First, we want to show how brave and foremost smart Elizabeth really was. While being led into the woods, she dropped her shoes in the hope that it would provide a clue for someone who was searching for her. Despite receiving ongoing death threats from Vinson and having explosives hung around her neck, she would talk with him about things that interested him, which in his eyes, made her a person, not just a captive. She began to gain his trust immediately when she knew she was in trouble. After continuing to gain his trust, she was allowed out of the bunker sometimes. She would pull out strands of her hair and lay them on branches hoping search dogs might pick up her scent. Unfortunately, the police didn't pick up on anything that could rescue her earlier on. With the search operation getting further away by the second, Elizabeth started to lose hope. She had access to the TV and she knew what was going on around her search party. So, with all her hopes lost, the girl decided she needed to save herself. It took the girl multiple attempts to save herself from this monster. One night she managed to get her hands on the gun of Vinson, and at that time she thought it was time to save her life by taking his. Gathering up the courage, Elizabeth pulled the trigger.
I placed it up to his head and pulled the trigger, and it got jammed.
Luckily, Vinson was in deep sleep and did not wake up by this failed attempt. So she put the gun back. Elizabeth says, "On that night, I cried a lot. She thought all hope was gone." For her next attempt, Elizabeth plotted a scheme. She decided to make the abductor believe that she is in love with him, because that was the only possible way to gain his trust, as she already started to gain from the first moments he kidnapped her. She started telling him that she loves him and does not want to leave the bunker because she wants to stay with him. The plan started to work, and Vinson started trusting her more and more. Elizabeth convinced Vinson to let her borrow his cellular phone to play games, but she had an entirely different use in mind. Once she gained this level of trust and he fell asleep one night, she texted her mother, "Hey Mom, it's Lizzie." To type each letter, she had to click one button multiple times, which made her nervous, scared he would wake up. Finally, after typing the text, she pressed the send button. But it failed to send. She went above the ladder and held the phone out of the bunker and hit the send button, but the message kept on not delivering. Failing in another attempt, Elizabeth went back to sleep. There was one text that did, however, go through. Her mom said later, "I looked at the text, and I ran straight to my husband and told him, 'It's Elizabeth. No one else has my cell phone.' She told me exactly where she was, down the road. Which road it was, get the police. She's in a hole." Before the police could triangulate the phone number, Sheriff Steve McCaskill was afraid that the text was a hoax. Police were able to identify whom the phone belonged to, as well as trace the message and identify the area it came from. Within a few days, a risky decision was made by the police department to air the text message and the identity of the phone owner on the news. When Elizabeth and Vinson saw the TV in the morning, the news showed the mother of Elizabeth had received a text message. This terrified Elizabeth because she was worried about what Vinson would do to her now. But Elizabeth refused to acknowledge to him that she had sent the message. She made him believe that she loved him, so why would she do this to him? Vinson believed her. When Vinson saw his name and picture on the news, he was not only furious but scared as well. Alarmed as he watched news of the manhunt with the girl, he asked Elizabeth what to do. "I told him he needed to leave because if they'd catch him, he would go to jail," she said. Vinson decided to run and leave Elizabeth behind. To great relief of Elizabeth. Elizabeth did not want to rush out of the bunker, scared Vinson changed his mind, would come back and might kill her. So she stayed in the bunker that night and crawled out the next morning. She saw the sunlight after 10 days of seeing darkness. Elizabeth could not see anyone near her, so she started yelling, "Help!" And after a few moments, she could hear her name called out to her. It was the police. The police officer hugged the girl and told her that she is okay and now there is no need to worry. Elizabeth finally united with her family and later said that the best feeling was to meet her mother again and hug her. So the escaped sick-minded Vinson was not successful in running away, because a few hours later a phone call was received by the police department by a woman who said that Vinson tried to snatch her car. So the police immediately caught him. In September 2007 he went on trial and received a sentence of 421 years behind bars, without parole. In May 2021, Filyaw died inside the prison at McCormick Correctional Institution at the age of 51, for unknown reasons. So, this was the true story of Elizabeth, who escaped the bunker by herself and saved her own life by being calm, smart, and brave. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you think Vinson has come to his end? Was it natural causes? Or maybe something did happen in prison? Did he get what he deserved? Don't forget to subscribe and put on the notifications to not miss our latest videos.